A Divorce Money Guide. Chapter 1. Divorce Money 1. Divorce and Money, the Cold Hard Facts 1. You hold the key to success of your own divorce. Lovers' quarrels are generally not about money. Divorce cases generally are. Mason Cooley. When money is the problem that leads to divorce, it's generally caused by either one or both of two factors. One person is as if fed with money and the other can't stand the frivolousness or the waste. One person sees the other as a liability to the lifestyle of the social class they want to live in. A person is either a wise, conservative person with money or they're stupid about it, they don't think about it much, spending it frivolously until such time as they fall into money problems, and even then, many can't handle it, they simply continue to live in denial, spending it until they declare bankruptcy or the husband cuts them off. The saver-spender marriages rarely work out even if the husband is loaded, the girl married him for his money and they both know it. At first, he's generous, but every girl abuses the privilege and almost no man has a bottomless pit of wealth, so after the girl cleans him out for about 2 to 3 years, she has one kid and simply files for divorce, ensuring regular large monthly payments until the kid is at least 18. If you don't have the same general attitudes about money, there will be tension and at some point it could lead to divorce. Don't underestimate the importance of money and attitudes to money in a relationship. Within the culture of marriage itself are premarital programs where the couple goes to analyze whether they're really good for each other spiritually and psychologically. The couple should also discuss their attitudes to money, learn about it and set up a plan as to how they will deal with their lives with respect to money. The golden rule of divorce and money is that once you've made the decision, it's now all about the money, not the emotions. You have to do what's right for you to walk away with the best, equitable financial deal for yourself. You don't want to destroy him, but you want a fair monetary settlement. As soon as you either decide on a divorce or your SPO mentions it, you have to start planning your future money-wise. Make a list of your assets, his assets, and the assets you own together, as well as a list of debts. Make a list of money coming in monthly versus money paid out in bills monthly. Close all joint accounts. Cancel all joint credit cards. It doesn't hurt to learn about money. There are plenty of books at number 332 at the library. Real estate books go from about hashtag 332.66 to hashtag 333.00. What's the good of getting the house if you can't make the mortgage payments? Sell it for whatever equity you have in it. The divorce will cost money. The person who leaves, usually the guy, will have to set up a whole new accommodation. One will be stuck without the other's paycheck, while one will probably have to make some form of alimony and child support payments. Divorce ain't cheap unless you got nothing to begin with, but even then they could stick you with support payments. If one side has been contributing to a retirement savings plan or pension, the other side has a right to dip into it. I've said it throughout my money book and my love book, even if the marriage seems to be going smoothly, get a marketable skill, then get a part-time job even if you're a housewife. Allied health professions aren't that hard and it's relatively easy to get part-time jobs in these areas. They need X-ray techs at major hospitals 24 hours a day. If you don't, it's inherently unfair if one, usually the husband, gets the benefit of a career while the other, usually the wife, stays home to raise the kids. If there's a divorce, she's the one up the creek. Even though he'll pay her money, in all but the wealthiest of families, she will still have to figure out a way to support herself. To get a skill and a job is your personal declaration of independence. Start a personal bank account and save some money for yourself away from the dynamic of the couple. Child custody and support are discussed elsewhere, but spousal support, what used to be called alimony, is the money one spouse pays to another to relieve any economic inequality that may exist at the end of a marriage. It used to be quite common, but nowadays, due to an era of feminism, it is assumed that women can work, so wives and some husbands of wealthy wives, usually get a settlement and alimony for 5 years max, unless there's an extenuating circumstance, because it's assumed that in 5 years, anybody can get training and enter the workforce, and if they don't, it's their own fault. The ex-spouse has no legal responsibility for the ex-spouse's laziness. The judge generally determines alimony on the following factors: the need of financially weaker spouse, the ability of the other spouse to pay, what can he or she afford, how long the marriage was, the age and health of the financially weaker spouse. Is he or she too old and too frail to go out and earn their own living? I know that when the divorce is on, you want to get out as quickly as possible, but there will be a settlement negotiation where you will have to deal with your spouse. Try not to be cold, evil, or emotional. Try to be businesslike and cordial. You just want a fair deal for yourself without putting him in the poorhouse. Resist the urge to want to get out as quickly as possible and dig in for a fair settlement. Some lawyers are not out for your best interests. They will want you to take the first deal offered because it means fast money for them without effort. If you're not happy with it or them, fire them and get a new lawyer. Even hire a financial planner to help you sort through the settlement negotiations. Note that this settlement negotiation phase could be very expensive because of what you're paying lawyers, so the best bet is if you can both be cordial and come to a settlement on your own without the lawyers involved. This is called a do-it-yourself divorce. You can get the divorce forms and fill them out yourself, or hire some storefront paralegal for a few bucks to help you fill them out. If you can't be cordial enough to achieve this, try something a little less costly than a traditional adversarial fight in divorce court, like a collaborative, both sides hammer out an agreement out of court, mediated or arbitrated divorce, all of which are processes where the two sides agree to come together and solve their settlement problem in a manner less invasive than a traditional court process. If it's an abuse situation, all bets are off. Do it through the courts. You can't chance being alone with him again where he gets a chance to either kill you, threaten you, or manipulate you. If and when you remarry, go in without wearing a veil. See what you're getting. Have your own 2 feet firmly planted on the ground. Keep a separate account for yourself. Learn something about investments. If you don't remarry but shack up, get a cohabitation agreement. If you have considerable assets, get a prenuptial agreement. It's only good sense for the uncertainty of life. That's how you sell your spouse on it. Say you were burned before, nobody knows what will happen in the future, so you have to protect what's yours. If she balks, call her a gold digger and walk away. If she really loved you for you, she wouldn't care about your money. Generally, if you get any large gifts or inheritances during the marriage, you should set them aside in an individual account and keep them that way, not as part of the marriage property. Change your will. Change your insurance policies. Cancel any which make the ex-spouse the beneficiary if you die. Divorce and money, the cold hard facts too. Despite a judge's duty to be impartial, chances are he will operate by his gut instinct. He probably didn't even read the case report but will get a feel for you and your spouse right there and make a decision based on that, so don't antagonize him. Be respectful. Call him, Your Honor. Divorces can take years because of the fight over property, with the lawyers making the most money of all. Also try to get it over with as quickly as possible. After all, you supposedly pledged love forever and loved this person at some point in time, so you'd think you could be civil enough to dissolve the marriage expeditiously. In general, the time to settle a divorce is as early as possible. Women are pretty amenable to a fair settlement if you offer, but once her lawyer gets his digs into her, he will brainwash her to go for the jugular because he gets 30% or something like that of everything she wins, so he's gonna try to convince her to get as much as she can. All divorces cost money, possibly a lot of money, that's the bottom line, so think about it before you go for it. There was the case of one guy who shoved his wife, piece by piece, through a wood chipper because it was cheaper than going through a divorce. He got caught though. Ask yourself whether you're better off without him/her before you go through with it. Beyond the legal costs and the costs of splitting the property, you will each have to go it alone, possibly move into a new place and re-establish all the utilities, cable TV, telephone, etc. in your own name all over again. The divorce drags through the legal system, costing you more for lawyers, time off from work, extra expenses while you're in limbo waiting for it to end, not to mention all the wear and tear on your soul. The judgment is mixed as to who suffers most in a lowered standard of living. The truth is that both sides suffer. Women typically have to start earning a living to support the kids, while the men lose the house and have to pay child support and alimony. The IRS takes its cut too. If you get depressed, don't ignore your legal and financial problems, because there will be a point where they will blow up in your face. When you separate and intend to divorce, it's best to separate everything as quickly as possible, including the husband continuing to pay for the wife's mortgage payment, etc., because this will just raise bad blood. Once the decision is over, cut all ties as quickly as possible. There's no excuse for saying you don't care about the money or for protecting yourself in a divorce. Know about the laws and do what's necessary to get your just due, otherwise your partner could eat you alive in divorce court. Don't go to the opposite extreme in your anger. The judge will see through it, so keep a middle ground approach. The wife usually gets the house at least while she has kids. Often, the couple will sell the house if there are no kids or after the kids move out and split the profits. There isn't tax exclusion, but there are capital gains taxes beyond $500,000 for couples, $250,000 for an individual. You have to live in the house for at least 2 of the past 5 years in order to be eligible for the exclusion. This exclusion can be used every 2 years as many times as you want. If you're not getting your just due settlement, visitation, child support, etc. that you were legally awarded, report it to the divorce court for enforcement. Wives are entitled to a cut of the husband's pension if he was the only one working. If the divorce decree is done under less than favorable circumstances, the spouse who feels victimized states some grounds for divorce to get herself leverage in court. Because the husband might be found at fault for causing the divorce through negative behavior, the wife can often win child custody, child support, the house, and a lot of his assets, more so than if it was a no-fault divorce. An intelligent way to approach marriage is to prepare for the worst. Try to get your wife to work for herself or train for a skill so you won't be stuck with supporting a helpless lost soul should it happen. Don't put all your money into a big house which she will most likely get should it happen. Bury some money in the ground or hide it in a cash-paid safety deposit box, preferably through a private company rather than a bank. You can legally put $9,999 into a foreign bank account without reporting it to the IRS. Your best bet is a prenuptial agreement where you offer a fair settlement in case of a divorce. In order to ensure its validity, get the future wife to read it over and get counseling from her own attorney who also signs it. Some prenuptial agreements have been overturned on the ground that the husband manipulated the wife or that too much time has passed since the marriage and the situation has changed. After 5 years, throw the old prenuptial agreement away and make up a new one now called a postnuptial agreement. You will have to decide on what to do with the house. If it's not all paid for, the simplest solution may be to sell it and split the payoff 50-50. Keep an eye out on capital gains taxes you will be paying to the IRS. If you own substantial investments or a business, the divorce could get messy. The wife will probably want half, but you will argue that you built it up with your hard work and offer her an annual salary for all her years with you. In the end, the judge will hash it out unless you can come to an agreement between yourselves, which is always the best way. The law says you're each responsible for your individual debts and both responsible for your joint debts, like the mortgage on the house. Try to resolve your joint debt before the final bell, as the other one could easily walk away or declare bankruptcy, leaving you holding the bag financially. Pay all your back taxes before the final bell too. If you're too greedy during the hearing, the other will just declare bankruptcy and you will never collect a cent of your settlement. Generally, what happens is that all the assets of the couple are tabulated into 3 categories. What each the husband and wife brought into the marriage. Everything that was gained by the couple during the marriage. They each take back what they brought in and split the gains equitably, supposedly 50-50, but add kids into the formula and a wife who supposedly sacrificed her career for the family, and you got a judge that often turns on the husband. It can even go so far as the wife wanting due compensation for helping the husband get his college degrees during the marriage while she worked, or the husband wanting credit for paying for his ex-wife's mother's funeral expenses. It has happened. The Retirement Equity Act gives both spouses access to the household retirement savings plan. You could either close it and take a lump sum for a 10% early withdrawal penalty, or wait to dip into it at the age of 59 and a half. As soon as your husband becomes eligible, you're allowed to dip into it too. Take it up with your divorce lawyer. Make sure you do some research before you choose your divorce lawyer. It could be the difference between equity or bust. Even if you have a good marriage now, hide some money from your spouse just in case. Use your workplace or a PO box as your address for your secret bank account. Get the assets before he/she does, and that includes cleaning out the accounts. If you choose to go deadbeat, note that the other side can take legal action to seize your assets, so hide your money rather than put it into a bank account. If you want to be real sneaky, plan everything ahead and get set up before you announce to your former beau that it's adios, baby. Hide all your assets from the future divorce court. If the opposing lawyer finds out and tells the judge, you're screwed, so be careful. They can do a computer search on every bank/financial institution in the country based on the forms these places send to the IRS, so be careful with your social security number. Do your homework. If she wants to live in a penthouse and drive a Jag, tell the judge that she can do just as well with a studio apartment and a Pinto or even a bike. If you must pay, make it a temporary thing until she's re-established. Renegotiate it in 6 months' time. You can get reductions by appealing in court when the situation changes, like you get married, she gets a job, etc. The easiest way to get away from alimony is to find a husband for your ex-wife. The final legal solution is bankruptcy. An easy solution is to just move far away and don't pay. Change your name and use a fake social security number if you have to. I read a story in the paper about a guy whose wife was awarded half of his $26 million estate, so he had all the money transferred to a corporate trust account in the Cayman Islands, an account that's really his but disguised via the fake company name. He then moved to Florida from Boston, where he bought a house in the name of a new fake company he created. It's very easy to get a business license. Just pay the license fee in any city. So he had a house in a company name he created, all his money in an offshore trust, and then he made his first mistake. He met a girl in his new neighborhood, bragged to her about how he ripped his wife off and his daughter, not paying any child support. 2 months later, he broke up with this new girlfriend, called the cops, told them this guy was hiding out and had a judgment against him from divorce court in Boston. They got him and froze all his accounts until he pays up. So the lesson is, if you plan to run away to escape your divorce obligations, don't blab to new friends what you did. Just say your wife died and you're starting a new life. Contact the Social Security Administration, 800-772-1213, ssa.gov, about your rights to your spouse's retirement benefits. Nalo Press puts out a book called Divorce and Money, where they break down some of the divorce procedures for state laws. They also have a book called How to Do Your Own Divorce in California. Community Property vs. Equitable Distribution. In an American divorce, the distribution of assets is largely dependent on the state where the divorce is processed. There are 2 types of states where the divorce laws differ significantly. The community property states are Arizona, California, Idaho, Louisiana, New Mexico, Nevada, Texas, Washington, Wisconsin. Generally, you keep whatever assets you brought into the marriage, separate property, and any gifts or inheritances that you received yourself as an individual. However, all money that was made during the marriage and everything that was acquired, regardless of who earned the money or whose name it's in, is supposed to be split 50-50 down the middle. If someone earned $100 million during his marriage, his wife is entitled to $50 million of that. The reality is not quite that simple. Each side in a community property state frequently haggles over what is separate property and what is jointly owned. The IRS takes its cut of any gains in the capital gains tax. If you've been married for 20 plus years, you're entitled to your ex-spouse's Social Security benefits when he/she dies. Equitable distribution. All states other than the ones listed above. The laws vary in different states, but basically, the court looks at the marriage as a whole and considers all aspects when distributing the assets, such as length of marriage, number of children, who was the breadwinner, the contribution of keeping the house, the wife's ability to get a job and support herself, etc. Equitable distribution means fair distribution. It is a highly subjective affair, and it all comes down to where the judge's sympathies lie. The wife usually gets the kids, the house, and most of the stuff. Some unscrupulous men wisely move their families from a community property state to an equitable distribution state and establish residency to save money in the subsequent divorce. Divorce and taxes. irs.gov/publication/p504/index.html Tax rules and rights for divorced and/or separated individuals. Asset protection divorce. There are several ways to get an asset protection divorce, some legal, some not so legal. In addition to what I say here, read the asset protection section in my money book. The ones I was able to think up are as follows. 1. Take off, don't get a legal divorce, live in your own name. Even if you remarry, you are still bound by the law of the first marriage. Your wife will get a divorce in absentia, without you present, then get a lawyer to chase after your assets, and if you have kids, child support too. When you die, your ex-wife and kids have a legal right to a percentage of your estate by law regardless of what the will says, if she and her lawyer choose to pursue it. 2. You take off, get a new identity and live in a new name. You could do the paper trip, type the terms FAKEDS and paper trip into search engines, or buy books at loompanix.com or paladinpress.com. An easy way is to find an old school buddy or some other guy who is not doing so hot in the real world and is basically not part of it, like a blind guy, disabled guy, a hippie, an artist, a guy who lives with his parents, a minor crook, a lazy guy, etc. You're looking for a guy or gal who doesn't work and doesn't have very much in the way of bank and investment accounts. Offer him $500 for a copy of his birth certificate and social security number. Explain what you want to do to him. Tell him if the cops ever come up to him, he just has to play dumb and say somebody must have stolen his identity theft. Get a driver's license and passport in this new name, open a bank account, start living as this person. As long as there is no link between the old name and the new name, divorce lawyers won't find you, and cops don't look for people running away from marriages because it's not a criminal matter. 3. Get a job or start a business in another country. Move all your assets there. This is easy as an American going to Canada and vice versa. 4. Have the intention of playing by the book and going to divorce court with the intention of minimizing your assets beforehand, which are basically the tactics I talk about in the asset protection section of my money book. Proceed as though you were hiding money from the tax people or from a big creditor. The easiest way is to open a foreign bank account in a stable nation like Canada, Jamaica, Aruba, Dutch possession, or Mexico and put the bulk of your money there. Other ways are to liquidate everything you own and either bury it in the ground or give it to a relative for safekeeping, since you don't want some overzealous divorce lawyer make an accusation that you're hiding cash in your house, causing the court to authorize a search of the premises. Judgment-proof yourself by getting rid of all your assets on paper in this country before you even file for divorce. Go through the divorce proceeding, let them render a judgment against you, then simply have no intention of paying it. Rent the place you live in as opposed to buying it, or get a relative to buy it with your money and rent it to you. Don't keep a lot of money in any account, don't own an expensive car, a boat, or airplane which all have to be registered. Move out of state for a while or move around several times in the city where you live. If you're not a big timer, the divorce lawyer, who wants his 30% commission, and the court administrators who are charged with enforcing the divorce judgment will not spend much time on your case because they've got hundreds of others. You're being elusive in an innocent kind of way, so there's nothing much they can do. They can get you for contempt of court, which is lying about your assets, and the judge can throw you in jail for a week or two for that, but they can't throw you in jail for not paying a divorce judgment. If you have a girlfriend, you must try to keep her a secret from your wife, because if she finds out, she can use that against you in divorce court, with the net result being that you lose more financially in the settlement. So tell your girlfriend to play it cool and wait until after the settlement to go out in public and do things together. Almost everyone hates the guy who dumps his wife for a fresh, young sweetie, so watch out for pies with surveillance zoom lenses. Tell your girlfriend to stay cool until after the divorce hearings are over. Unless your former spouse is a cool and understanding person, the reality of divorce court is a long, slow grind. So unless you're a rich guy who doesn't care about losing a lot of quid, the bottom line is money, both for the lawyers and the scorned wife, and that means do your homework and hide as much as you can before you announce the split. The bottom line, if your wife and lawyer try to accuse you of hiding money, is just play dumb. The worst you can do is a few weeks in jail, because it's just a 2-bit divorce civil trial and it ain't no big deal. Don't underestimate your wife's desire for revenge, especially after her 30% commission lawyer gets through smoothing her out. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Hide the money, play it cool for a while, and you will be all set. Your best bet is to bury it, because if you put it in any account, it can be found easily with a computer check. Don't be a whoosh in court. Be straight up, like the hard-working, breadwinner, traditional family values, fatherly type who's getting the short end of the stick. Don't look too happy like you're already getting it from somewhere else. Don't breathe a word about any girlfriend you might have while the divorce proceeding is taking place. At the very least, you will have to pay child support, a minimum of 17% of your gross salary for the first child and 12% for the second, not to mention all your expenses and gifts. That's the hard reality of bringing children into the world. Child support is one thing, and so is child abandonment. I'm against this on moral grounds. If you bring children into the world, you should pay to raise them and have emotional contact with them. I've seen some bad cases of non-payment of child support and child abandonment, where the husband walks away and never wants anything to do with his kids again, even when they come to his door looking to talk to him. I'm against non-payment of child support, but I'm also against the ex-wife living off child support. If you get a child support judgment over $5,000 a month, as some wealthy guys do, the ex-wife is living off that money. If the kid is over 12, I would go see him or her every month and hand them a check for $1,000 or so and tell them to put it into their bank accounts. If they want to give the mother a few hundred foyer bills, that's their business. I would also get them to start an investment account in their name, and I would put money into it. Overall, what I'm saying is that I believe that if you have kids, that's one thing. Pay for them to grow up and make their way in the world, but the ex-wife or the ex-husband are another story. Alimony for life is pretty well gone, because judges now know that women can go out and find a job even if they have to go to school to train for something at the age of 45. I don't believe in a 50-50 split. I believe that what you bring into a marriage is yours, and regardless of what you earn in a marriage, your ex-spouse is not entitled to half. They are entitled to an average good wage, which is about $50,000 a year. If I earned $100 million in the space of a 10-year marriage, I don't believe the ex-spouse is entitled to $50 million. He or she is entitled to maybe $100,000 a year for that 10 years, but that's not the way it works in the legal system. But that's the way I feel, which is why I have no qualms about losing an ex-wife financially that I now have contempt for. You can do a divorce legally or simply walk away. In both cases, these events from a legal standpoint are so trivial that unless you're worth millions, they are not worth the hassle for an ex-spouse pursuing you for a few $1,000s. If you get a judgment against you, unless you own a home or have a big investment account, they can't do much. Even if you drive a reasonable car, you need it to go to work. They can't just come in and take it away in order to sell it to make some money to pay off your judgment. If you work somewhere, they can garnish your wages. Your best bet is to run a business that doesn't have many assets, is owned by others beyond you, partnership, corporation, limited liability company, and doesn't seem to make money, at least on paper. You always owe fictitious suppliers money. This brings up the point of privacy that I talk about in my money book. You can buy a house as the name of your limited liability company. If you're smart and keep a low profile, nobody will find you. You need a bank account, but this is confidential information to all but the feds and the cops, and they won't be involved in chasing you down for just a divorce settlement. Divorce lawyers will. Your ex-spouse might hire a private detective to look for you if you have lots of money. Credit reports, which are easily available to landlords, car sellers, etc., can be easily obtained, but they don't have a list of your bank accounts on them, only your credit accounts, where you borrow money. You can either do the split straight or do it like a scoundrel. I personally think the best way is to do it straight. Chances are you've met someone else. What I would do is quietly move my stuff out of the house without arousing suspicion. I would get a new place to live, go to my lawyer, get him to make me up a form for a quickie divorce. On the day of my choosing, I'll tell my wife or husband straight up that I'm leaving. I would give her the quickie divorce form, the deed for the house, offering to sign whatever equity there is in it to her, offer her the pink slip to one car, and tell her she can have whatever is in the house right now. I would tell her my lawyer is holding X amount of dollars which he will give her if she signs the papers, or if I was more brazen, I would just lay the cash down right there and say, this is what I'm offering you. Regardless of what you do, I'm gone. It's a done deal, no sense prolonging it with them dummies out there in divorce court. I would tell her to think about it, then I would suggest she sign the divorce form and give it to my lawyer. I would say it's best to get it all behind you right now and start a new life. I would say she could go through a tedious divorce process with me, but tell her I have no assets on paper, you won't find anything. It will be a waste of time. I would gently prod her to sign the paper for peace of mind's sake and get on with the next chapter of her life. Then I would say it just didn't work out, accept it, move on. I would tell her if she wants to fight me for assets in divorce court, I won't show up, I will ignore it, and I will further hide my assets. I would walk out of the house, go over, see my new love, and feel good that I got it over with like a man, face to face. If she tried to sue me in divorce court, since I don't like courts, I wouldn't even go. I would hide my bank accounts in Canada and use my credit cards and debit cards from these accounts. My new house would be in the name of a foreign corporation or a limited liability company, so I wouldn't even bother wasting my time thinking about it much anymore. They try to intimidate you, but if you've done advance planning, there will be nothing there for them to take. Forensic economist for a divorce. Forensic economists figure out the amount of money or damages a person should get as a result of such things as a business partnership splitting up, a divorce, negligence, etc. If you're rich and you want a divorce, hire a forensic economist to help you figure out what your wife should get. NAFE.net, National Association of Forensic Economics. Finance.monster.com/articles/forensic. Chapter 2. Divorce Money 2. Alimony/maintenance. Alimony is the high cost of leaving. Alimony is the money one spouse pays to another to support them financially after a divorce, usually called maintenance fees or spousal support. It's usually men paying their wives, but some rich women pay their ex-husbands, like some of the so-called celebrities out there. At one time in the era of the traditional family, men were stuck with steep alimony payments for life because their wives were often housewives with few marketable skills outside the home. But nowadays, with feminism and the many opportunities out in the workforce, very few women get alimony for longer than 5 years, if that. Many judges usually give the wife the house and steep child support payments from the former husband, but they're now starting to realize that an ex-husband is not responsible for his ex-wife's livelihood for the rest of her life. Hence, alimony is quickly becoming a temporary situation. The trend seems to be a lump sum distribution of assets at the dissolution of the marriage with no alimony whatsoever. Rehabilitative maintenance is a term used to describe the alimony one spouse pays until the other is self-sufficient. It's often paid weekly or monthly. The judge will look at the entire case, how wealthy one spouse is, and determine how much money the other needs and for how long. If it was the person without the wealth that caused the divorce, usually the wife, for something like adultery, alcohol, booze, domestic violence, the judge can nullify alimony payments to her. Some factors determining alimony are income and assets of each party, length of the marriage, age and health of both parties, future capacity to earn money, present employment, number of years working at this job, salary level, prospect for future salary level, education and special training, lifestyle of the receiver, is she frivolous or well-centered, children, standard of living during the marriage, taxes. Consider the following questions. Were you employed at the time of marriage? Health condition. Is it good or bad? Any unusual expenses? Did you sacrifice any career opportunities so that your spouse could go to school and obtain a degree, license, or success in his or her occupation? Is there a prenuptial agreement or other type of contract? What will your financial needs be after the divorce? Do you feel you deserve alimony? Why? How long do you think you should receive support? Alimony payments can be adjusted after the marriage if conditions change, such as raise due to inflation, loss of employment, poor health, financial emergencies, remarriage, new job, raise, new income like an inheritance. If the parties can't agree to modify the alimony themselves, they have to back to court and a judge will decide. You can negotiate the final settlement with your spouse, or the court will resolve any disputes between the two of you, such as division of assets and property, alimony payments, if any, custody of children, visitation schedules, child support payments, educational support of children beyond high school, health insurance coverage for dependents, liability for outstanding bills, tax benefits such as children exemptions and mortgage. Courts nowadays are authorizing rehabilitative maintenance payments for a year or so while the wife gets some education/training and gets a job to support herself and her children. She may have been a housewife raising the children for 10 years, approaching middle age, cut off from the former husband's paycheck, and now has to go out and support the children and herself on her own. After she gets educated, you can petition the court to eliminate alimony. Child support payments frequently don't cover what it really costs to raise a child, and, of course, there are always the deadbeat dads. If you're a woman with children getting a divorce, make it a point to itemize all your children's expenses so you get as high a child support payment as possible. And if you were a housewife, consider raising your kids and sacrificing your own career for the family as a big debit and demand alimony or payments until you re-educate yourself enough to get a decent job. In Mexico, if the wife doesn't give the husband sex, he can use that in divorce court to get out of paying her alimony. Divorce and business. If you live in a community property state, Arizona, California, Idaho, Louisiana, New Mexico, Nevada, Texas, Washington, and Wisconsin, and plan to get divorced, your business could crumble as a result because you will probably have to come up with a large lump sum to appease your former spouse. Remember, all assets acquired during the marriage are supposed to be split 50-50. In equitable distribution states, the judge still won't necessarily be sympathetic. He will take at least 25% of the business and give it to the wife unless you settle with her or him somehow. Your best bet is to make an agreement in advance with your lawyer and spouse when the business is in its infancy as to a fair settlement should there be a breakup later on. It could save you lots of hassles. Tell your spouse your business partners demanded it to protect their collective butts. Get a prenuptial agreement if you're not married yet, and don't be bashful about it. A postnuptial agreement is the same type of agreement made up after the couple is married. It's reality and necessary so as not to trash your company should the time ever come. If you go public, offer your spouse some of your stocks over the years. 1-888-4MY-DIVORCE.com/pub/business-owners/strategy for -owner-spouse.htm, Florida Divorce, 888 4MY Divorce. Divorce Property Settlement Info. A property settlement is the term people use to describe the parties agreed to division and distribution of the property and possessions that they own together. Property settlement is what all divorces come down to after child custody and who gets the pets. In an ideal situation, it should be simple. Each take back what they brought into the household. Divvy up all the small stuff equally like furniture, lawn tools, kitchenware, etc. Unless one spouse says they don't care, then the other takes it. Decide who gets the three big things: car, house, business. If one spouse gets a big thing like the house or the business, there is usually an offset that goes with it that the spouse has to pay some cash to the other spouse. If the husband gets the business, he's expected to give the ex-spouse a certain amount of cash for her share of it, which is 50% in a community property area. He might not have liquid cash, so he agrees to payments or some other arrangement. For some couples, especially if they don't have kids, it might be best to sell the house and split the proceeds. If you are both amiable, you can sit down, write out all your joint assets that you're both entitled to a piece of, then write down actual money amounts or percentages that each should get, present it to your spouse and hash it out from there. Cover these areas: marital residence, other real estate, summer cottage, other house, etc. Bank accounts, personal property, cars, bikes, boats, furniture, etc. Investments like real estate, stocks, etc. Pension, profit sharing, and retirement accounts. Business, life insurance. Debts, who will pay them off? Be very careful that the property you are receiving in a settlement does not have large capital gains as compared with your ex-spouse's property. ColoradoTrustAttorney.com. ContiMPOMag.com/financial-in-divorce-settlement.html. divorcemag.com/c/s3/question-financial_planning/conserve_cash.html. Entitlement to ex-spouse's retirement and Social Security money. If you're the housewife or house husband who didn't work but stayed home, you're entitled to an equitable share of your spouse's retirement plan contributions. You can also get Social Security benefits under the title Dependents Benefits if you were married for 10 years or more and split up at least 2 years before you file your first claim. SSA.gov. Talk to a lawyer about it. Divorce and money websites. General family law books are at #346.016 at the library. Books about money and divorce are at #332.024 or HG179. DivorcePrep.com. allbusiness.com/periodical/article/8187511-1.html, Credit Life After Divorce. TheyTookEverything.com. Self-counsel.com, Book Your Divorce, Your Dollars. DivorceDefense.com, Hide your money before you divorce. DivorceInfo.com. DivorceLawFirms.com. icao.on.ca/mediaroom/media article/divorce article/page 6628.aspx, Divorce and the Small Business Owner. LawGuru.com. SmartDivorce.com/report/business.shtml. Spardata.com/valuation-information/divorce-kills-business.shtml, Divorce in the family can kill a business. thebody.com/forum/aid/workplace/current/q153969.html, Divorce/small business owner. thebostondivorcelawyer.com. Divorcesource.com. Divorcesupport.com. GreatDivorceAdvice.com, USLegal.com, SmartAgreements.com, GarrettsonLaw.com/GarrettsonLaw.divorce2.htm, FindLaw.com/divorce-form/le22_i.html, WestHoustonAttorney.com/HoustonDivorce/divorce-property-settlement.aspx, DivorceRecoverySuite.com, WomansDivorce.com/divorce-settlement.html, LegalMatch.com/law-library/article/divorce-property-settlements.html, LawCL.com/practice-areas/property-settlements.asp, TheModernWomansDivorce Guide.com/articles/collaborative-divorce-property.php, TraverseCityFamilyLaw.com/pages/property.htm, SmartMoney.com/divorce/splitting/index.cfm?story=property calc, AICPA.org/pub/TPC/nov2000/divorce.htm, Kiplinger.com/magazine/archive/2005/07/divorce.html, a civil divorce. Nalo Press. 950 Parker Street, Berkeley, California 94710. 800-992-6656. 800-728-3555. Fax, 800-645-0895. Nalo.com